You're talking about personal responsibility.
Yeah.
I love this topic.
Yeah.
Another one I love.
Yeah.
And once again, I think it's another example of something that does have some nuance, though.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure.
I'll make some of the case here, and you tell me what you think, and you don't have to agree with me, obviously. But I look at this, and I think I've hit on this before with somebody, but you kind of put it into two buckets. Like, let's start at the political level when you look at the Democrats and Republicans.
Sure.
The Republicans like to say, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, pure personal responsibility. Like, no one needs to help you. Regardless of your situation, anyone can do anything. And then the Democrats seem to say, no, everyone needs help, and we need to give more help than ever, and we need the government to take care of everything, and we need to hand out this and hand out that, which really, psychologically, over time, has been proven to be like, well, it can get people stuck. It's like, this is too little on the right, and that is too much on the left. And I kind of land somewhere here. And so I always use the extreme example of like looking in a very poor urban community. You can't just look at them and say, oh, you need to pull yourself up. This guy did it. Like, they'll always prop up like somebody that made it out of the hood. And they'll be like, oh, well, this guy did it, so you can do it too. It's not that simple.
Yeah. Your
environment shapes who you are. And the kid who's born into a broken home because his dad had him, with his mom, and his dad then went to jail, and it all started with an arrest for a joint when he was 16 that just spiraled his life out of control. Now this kid is growing up in that environment. His mom's working 2 jobs to pay the bills. She's not around. There's no guidance. No man in the house. No woman in the house, for that matter. The school systems suck. And he's got to like get to and from school. He's got friends at school who are in similar situations. What part of the expectation can be like, yeah, that kid should be able to figure it all out for himself and pull himself up? Now, the argument shouldn't be that's impossible. That's what the left seems to want to say. That's not the argument. Like, you'll never be able to help yourself, so we'll make sure we just help you and keep you there forever in some ways. But it also can't be like, yeah, man, figure it out. And it confuses me a lot, because if you're in regular middle-class suburbia and, maybe you don't have to get filled up with too much college debt or something like that, which is a whole nother rabbit hole, obviously, and you can kind of go from this, you have a decent education, you go from this point to that point, yeah, there's a lot more personal responsibility there. And I don't think you should be given nearly as many handouts. But how do you, like in your head, do you keep the balance of, some places we do have to look at having help at a public level and not just throwing money at the situation, like actually helping communities and helping rise up and prop up very poverty-stricken areas, versus we don't want to do way too much of that and drag it everywhere?
Yeah. It's a good question. If I had the answer, maybe I'd be the president.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
It's complicated.
But I think so much is... I'm always interested in, like, people that don't experience something have sometimes the loudest opinion about it. And it's just, I just remember, I'll give the example. I remember, obviously after George Floyd, it's a lot of people, like the black squares and stuff like that. And it's just interesting of some people, it's just, I did this one thing, I'm good. Yeah. I'm not a racist. Like, that's not how life works. But that's an example of just like, let me check off the boxes. And I don't like this. And it's just, I look for tangible stuff. What are you tangibly going to do? And I think everyone can do stuff differently. Not some people have the funds. That is one way to do something. Others can volunteer their time. But if you're just doing little things to just check off a box, that's not helping. So I think about this a lot in terms of, I'm a white guy from Florida, and I'm lucky that I have a pretty diverse group of my friends growing up, just to get different perspectives of wealth, race, religion. And I think a thing that's always helped me out is, what my interests are. And just like taking an honest evaluation of, for me, I love movies, film, music, all different genres. And that's helped me understand different cultures so well. So I'm someone that I unapologetically love pop music. I love it so much. I love all genres. And
did you go to Ultra?
Back in the day, but
you went to Ultra.
But the thing is, yeah, the me now would just hit me in the head for going to that. But it's just, that's an example, you know, I'm someone, I don't have any transgender friends. And the thing is, in the electronic space, I've found out like so many artists are trans, gay, LGBT. It's just like I've really learned so much about the community through the music. And it's just like, that's just one example of like, yeah, I can watch a clip online or something like that, but that's just like checking a box to learn something more. But to really immerse myself and go to concerts where like I'm the minority, it's just like, that's where the challenge yourself is really rewarding of it's such a great experience, because it's just like, first off, it's great music, I'm having a great time, but then it's like, you know, this isn't the environment I'm always in, but there are people like this, there are people living this live, and it's just being the observant one of like, I'm like, I don't want to say the intruder, but it's just like, I'm just learning about a space that I otherwise wouldn't have before, and it's just, it's so valuable. And another thing with the whole, like, when people are like, read these like books about black people, like to do something, it's just, I think there's like different levels of, look at what do you watch? Like, what are your favorite shows? What if you, like, your favorite shows, let's just say the most basic, like The Office and like Friends or something. Sure.
A lot of people would say that.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
They're popular shows for a reason. What if you watched a show that was like featured like a black storyline, something that's different? Not saying you have to, but it's just stuff like that, or, you know, I've found stuff
so
like...
you're saying you would encourage that?
Yeah. I think just in terms of anything, it's just like different themes, like movies that challenge you, shows that challenge you, that are different, that aren't easy to watch. Is not saying you have to do that, but for me, that's just been something of like, I look at this stuff as an opportunity to learn in a different way. That the director is someone that isn't like me, so they're gonna have a different thought process. So it's just gonna be a different way of thinking. Always, the more ways of thinking that you learn, I think it's just such a valuable skill to have. And again, there's nothing wrong with like that, those examples I gave, but it's just, this is an area that there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, but you try something new, challenge yourself. You never know what you can find. The worst that can happen is like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'll try something else.
Disagree. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think back in the day, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think I was the one who encouraged you to watch The Wire.
Oh, I think you're the one that gave me a 7. You're the last person that ever given me a physical DVD. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll pound the table with that show.
For sure.
I mean, till the cows come home, because it's still today. I mean, it's still so relevant.
Right.
And people haven't watched it. It basically covers the war on drugs in Baltimore. And it is actors, and it is a fictional show, but it is so accurate that sometimes it's almost like a blurred line of a documentary. And you want to talk about getting another perspective on things and seeing the nuance in situations that occur within the confines of this country. That is something that can open your eyes. And it's so deathly accurate, literally, pun intended, that you can't walk away from that and be like, yeah, you know, everything's cool.
Right.
You have, like, your mind is, hey, like, if you do, I guess that's your opinion. I've never heard someone watch that show that then walked away and said, yeah, you know, it's cool. Like, your mind is gonna then suddenly go to, wow, I never thought about that. Or, wow, I wonder what I would be like in that scenario, to pull back to your point on empathy.